We need to raise the standard and continue to raise the standard from the ground up.
Your past conditioning, your beliefs, you need to dump that and unlearn it and make room and opportunity for new stuff to come in.
If you're feeling that feeling at all within your gut, you need to go with it.
You have to have those people on your team who are willing to accept the change, because change is frustrating. All right, welcome back to an episode of Apps and Asphalt Podcast. It's been a minute. We dropped the ball, got busy again as always, and haven't stayed consistent, so we're back. Today's a very special episode. It is currently our last working day of the MPP 2025 season. Hope you guys all had an amazing 2025. I know it came with this, or 24, excuse me, came with its challenges, highs and lows. I know we saw our fair share, but overall for us, I felt it was a pretty good year. The guest I have with me is Mr. Hunter Thorne. He's one of our stud salesmen. Rookie of the year is what we're going to call him. And so that's what I really want to highlight for you guys, is how he was able to be so successful in his first year selling, and really like characteristics. I want to dive into like your brain and how you think and operate and what you've learned just in the short period of time to get you by. But before I jump in and start letting Hunter talk, I'm going to read you guys his actual stats for the year. This is no BS. This is actual hard numbers in our CRM. So for the year, his proposal output, his goal for the total year was 396 proposals. He sent out 543. Bids, his goal to send out in dollar amount of bids or proposals was 22 million. He sent out 27.5 million worth in bids. His jobs, his goal was 99 jobs. He sold 344. A lot of those were, we have a lot of small jobs. We have a client that's pretty much, sign and or send and sign, so that helps out a lot, but that doesn't take away from the effort. Closing ratio 63%, average operational profit 45%, 44 change orders. Most important part, what everyone really cares about, is dollar amount of values. He sold 5.943 million worth in sales, and honestly, like that's almost double what I did my rookie year. I have interviewed guys that have been doing estimating for 10 plus years, and they still aren't even half of what you've sold. So it is amazing, man. So I'm proud of you, dude. It's been amazing. Yeah. So those are real stats. If you guys don't believe me, we could even post a screenshot of our dashboard. Like, these are verified. We'll show you financial reports. Like, this dude is killing it. So thanks, man. Let's back up. Let's start with like who you are, how you kind of got into this journey, what you were doing before, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, so I born and raised in Colorado. I went to Colorado State University. Go Rams.
Boo.
Go Rams. Boo. And studied business marketing, and had a great time there. I from there worked in the sports industry, and I did operations. And so basically what that means is you're in charge of a bunch of logistics. So helping coordinate like travel, buses, meals, the equipment for the team, also employees underneath you. So did that for several years. I really enjoyed it. I'm a big sports guy, so it was fun, but I ended up kind of just needing a career change. And Zach, our president, has been a good friend and mentor of mine for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, hey, Zach, I kind of want to do something different. Like, you got any job openings? And well, kind of not really, but like, come and work for us and we'll find out what to do for you. So started in June, and when I got hired on in June, and basically what I did from June until like December was driving every single day with Zach to random meetings when he's meeting with clients, in the office. Like, you guys have listened to the videos and watched him. Like, you guys know Zach, and he's all over the place, but he's a wealth of knowledge. And so basically I started to kind of catch on what we're doing in this industry, and like, especially from the sales side, like how we want to work with our clients, what works, what doesn't work when you're trying to sell a job, but then also kind of how the whole project goes from the sales initially to operations to production to finishing the job. So I really got a crash course on this industry from just being with Zach every single day.
Yeah.
And my dad says this all the time, and it was like probably the first time I really realized it: baptism by fire. And that's what happened to me. I was baptized by fire, i.e. being with Zach every single day. And then, we were kind of finishing up the year, and a few of our team members left. And so I know that we were in the market to hire some new salespeople, and I met with you, and you're like, well, why don't you just try sales? Like, why don't we fully shift you into that? And I was hesitant. I didn't really know if I loved what I was doing here, if I loved the industry, what I wanted to do. I was kind of at a place in my life where I was making a lot of serious decisions. And
you had another offer at that time too that came into you for the NBA team.
Yeah, I was also kind of doing some job interviews, and it wasn't because I wanted to for sure leave, but it was opportunities that were given to me, and I'm like, I'm going to take a conversation, I'm going to interview. And it was really one conversation that we had that was like, hey, if you want to go the sales route, I'll pour into you. This is what you said to me. I'll pour my time into you. I will train you as much as I can. I'll give you all the resources to succeed. And then, it's up to you to take it and run. Thought about it a couple days, and then I came back to you, and I remember I told you, I said, hey, I'm all in. And then from that point forward, we spent a lot of time in the winter kind of training, refining, just bidding skills using our new software that we were being integrated with. And then eventually I stopped asking you for help, and I kind of just started doing it myself, and trial and error and winning and losing. And then sooner than, faster than we thought, it's kind of the season starting, and I'm just like, you're either sending me leads or people I've worked with are reaching out to me, and I'm just like on the road and I'm bidding, and it's just like, dang, I'm here. And then fast forward, it's the end of the first year, and at 5.9 in gross sales, but then I have like $200,000 in change orders, so surpassed 6 million.
Yep.
Which is the craziest thing.
100%.
Craziest journey.
Yeah. No, it's been amazing, man. And I think I'm glad you took me up on that and that conversation to heart, because we were actually at a Nuggets game, and
yep, we were
just, had a drink or two. We're just shooting the shit and talking. And like the one thing I saw in you was that you've been a very driven person. And like, in my opinion, that is rare, especially for younger dudes. Like, you're not that much younger than me, but there's still a little age difference. But when you have those characteristics and you learn quick, it shows that, you're a highly intelligent person and you're able to learn fast. But also you're not afraid to go make it happen. Like your baptism by fire, like my favorite story is, I think your first day, Zach's like, hey, I need you to go project manage this job.
Yeah.
And you're like, what does that even mean? And so you're out there, you have no idea. And and why I love that is because that's exactly how I got into it too. Like, I knew nothing about asphalt and concrete, and then I was told to go project manage. I'm sitting in the truck, like listening to all these million phone calls coming in and figuring out subs and taking pictures of God knows what it was. And like, just, you feel like such an idiot at first, but if you're able to push through that kind of fear and the pride hit that you have because you feel so, ignorant about what you're doing, then eventually you start learning it. And then you pick it up quick. And so that's been your biggest skill set. What do you think, so you when you're working for, I don't know if we can say it, but when you're working for the Nuggets, you were doing all the team logistics. What do you think was the biggest skill set that you got out of that translates to here?
Yeah. So when I was with the Nuggets, that was more on like equipment operation side. But that was just like, and I know you say it, but like grit, tenacity, hard work, like that's just, you're working a lot of hours, you're doing a lot of jobs that maybe you're like, well, I don't want to do that kind of thing. But you also gain a respect for the people you work for. And the biggest thing I learned is how to communicate with like different people from all walks of life.
Yeah.
Like when you're working for a professional sports team, you can talk to the owner of the team who's a billionaire. You can talk to the team chef, or you can talk to one of the players that's on ESPN every single day and makes $50 million, and your coworkers, like all within 30 minutes. So it's not just like the money aspect, but it's the powerful, like just the capacity of the people you're around and how you can take little nuggets from all of them. So I'd say the biggest thing actually would be using the wealth of knowledge from everyone
Those past.
you interact with. Yeah. Like taking a lesson from that person. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Or, oh yeah, I can use that in my personal life. Oh, that's a good professional skill. That's probably the biggest skill that I learned, is to everyone you're around, just like learn something from them.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, like we just said, when I was with Zach, I knew nothing. So everything I know was just from him teaching me, really.
Yeah.
And then, after I moved from just working with him to being in this position, like I learned from you daily, our other sales guys, Nick and Scott, I learned from them daily. Mario in operations, production, our supers, like every person I learned from daily. And I've gotten to the point where I'm not like timid, and I know what I'm talking about now. Like I could teach someone else something.
Right. 100%. and hopefully I'm not reaching, but I think another skill set that you indirectly learned from that last position, having to deal with multiple personalities, and it's a big part in sales, is the different personalities you're going to encounter with your different customers. I mean, you did whatever it was, 600 something job, or what was it, 300 something jobs?
Yeah, something like that.
I can't remember. I'll pull it back up. But doing that many jobs and meeting with those many people, and that's only just awarded work, but just proposals,
Yep.
You're meeting with all kinds of different personalities. So Sally, the property manager, who knows nothing about asphalt and concrete, she just wants to get the work done because that's what the board told her to do, versus a GC who like lives, eats, sleeps, and breathes construction. Exactly. Like the conversations are different. You got to know how to approach that.
Yeah, and you kind of learn, or at least what I've learned, and it's probably similar across, with different companies and different people, but when the conversations with Sally at the HOA, and then, the guy over the GC, they are completely different, but at the same time, it's just, if you can relate to them, just somehow can relate to them, it makes kind of the pressure of it being like professional.
Yeah.
It like lowers that, and what's fun is when you're working with people with HOAs is they either have an extensive background on like what they want to do, or they're kind of like, hey, you tell me, and then like maybe you can help me set the scope, and those are the ones you want.
Yeah,
those are the ones that you want.
The ones you don't want are some guy that's been a retired engineer for like 40 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we brought him in to hire to run this project, and you're like, oh God.
Yeah, and even the GCs, even some GCs they're so fun to work with, and then other ones, it's like they're even just the technicality level that they have to know that's different than us. I mean, they can just ask you questions upon questions upon questions, and I'm like, dude, I don't even know if anyone in this building knows the answer to that.
Right. Right.
So it's just that whole thing is kind of also knowing when to say, I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. And like not being afraid to say you don't know.
Yep, exactly.
So being we call our sales team pavement consultants because we go with the consultant approach. What do you feel are like some key things that you do that make you successful in this, whether that's, working with speed, whether that's your organization? Like what are some key things that you've realized, okay, if I continue doing this consistently, then this is the result that's going to lead to?
Mm-hmm. I would say speed and organization for sure.
Yeah.
So for me, when I started sales, I was told like, usually if we can get one of our bids around like within 10 days or like a working week, that's above average. And even from just working with other people, like if I'm reaching out to a different subcontractor and I need numbers from them, I mean, it's like 2+ weeks, and I've followed up with them 4 different times and called and texted and emailed. It's like, dude, can you just send me your numbers? And so that's the opposite of what I wanted to do. It's annoying waiting on somebody, especially like if you want something. So the client wants something, they want these repairs done. They don't want to wait 3 weeks to know how much it costs.
Yeah.
It's like they want to know now. And so that really framed my mindset and like my drive for what I do. So I try to, within like 24 hours if possible, send it back out to them. So if I'm meeting with clients like in the morning and I have time in the afternoon, then I'll 9 times out of 10 send it that day. But some days, if you're on the road and hitting 12 different properties and all these meetings, I try to get it within like 24 to 48 hours has been my approach.
Yeah, 100%. And speed wins. And
yeah, no, it does. It does. And, sometimes I'll even throw a little joke to the client, like, hey, hopefully speed wins the contract here. Or, a good one too is like, this shows that not only like we prioritize your project, but if God forbid anything comes up like warranty wise, like look how fast we are to respond versus the other contractors. If a lot of times they have to get like 3 bids and they're just waiting, it's past the deadline. They're waiting. I'm like, do you even want to work with them if they can't follow a deadline? Like, what are they going to do if something goes wrong?
Yeah, exactly. And that's a great way to frame it too. And like, even after all that time, there's nothing more frustrating for a property manager to, you got 1 or 2 bids, you still have to get a third. The third comes in late, and then you finally sit down and look at all the bids. They're all different.
So the whole process starts.
The whole process, they got to pick a scope and rebid it. So, being the first one and the quickest has always done us more good than it's done us harm.
Yep.
We've won so much work just because we were the first, and even sometimes the only person to give them numbers.
Yep.
And to me, it's baffling because I get that there's a lot that goes into a sales estimator, pavement consultant role because, there's times where you need to project manage. And we've been at the point where, especially early on, where our estimators were the project managers. So there's only certain capacity they have because they're tied up on job sites. But if you're able to start separating that and really see sales as focusing on selling 90% of the time, then you're going to have great results. You don't need a huge team to do it. You just gotta take away the quote unquote distractions from what their goal is. Like your guys' goal is to drive profitable revenue to the business. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Cut and dry.
Exactly.
And so if you are getting thrown on different tasks and stuff like that, and if you guys are, smaller business owners and have your sales guys doing stuff that is anything besides that, just understand that each task that you pile onto them is only going to slow them down further and further.
Yeah, it takes away from the sales. Yeah. What I think was a cool shift was when, I think it was this past calendar year, you really changed the title from like estimating or an estimator to a pavement consultant.
Yeah.
What I think is it kind of shifted a mindset too within me looking at the position, but also be curious to know like the rest of the sales team, what they think. But when you're not just an estimator, you're a consultant, I think it also creates a sense for the clients like of more trust maybe.
Yeah.
Or, they can look at it like, oh, they're a consultant. Like they're going to consult me through the project. They're going to offer successful solutions. An estimator, the way I look at it is kind of like, we're going to give you cut and dry, the numbers, what you need. We're going to get the job done. And that's that.
Yeah.
Consultants, we're, here for that job, the next one, and the one after that.
That approach allows you to actually build relationships.
Yeah.
Estimators are just, that title and kind of persona, and not saying that.
I think it's a mentality kind of too.
Yeah. And I'm not saying like every company who has what they call estimators is like this, but like they're typically just numbers guys.
Yep.
And so here's the numbers. My goal as an estimator is be low bid, still be profitable, make the company money. But consultant is more like, hey, you get an RFP, somebody wants to seal coat. They say, hey, we're looking to get some patching done, some seal coat and striping. You go and look at the parking lot and you realize, well, this asphalt's been around for 20 plus years and it's so polished, there's no fines left. So if I were to seal coat this, I'd be painting rocks and then it's going to fade and it'll be faded out within a year. And then they'll be calling us for warranty and we'll have to get in the fight with them and say, hey, look,
warranty,
nothing warranty, we're going to warranty this, and it's going to do the same thing again. Like, you have to remove and replace. So instead of even wasting money on seal coat, let's get the patching done. And then, let's start building up a 3-year budget to get you to the point where you can afford a milling and paving, which is what you actually need versus what you want.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us was just like a mindset shift into, we're not just trying to like win as many jobs. We're trying to build the relationships and also like better our clients and their next 5, 10, 15 years.
Yep.
Rather than the short. I think it's more than a short-term win. It's us looking at the long-term plays.
It's 100% a long-term play. Yeah. Cause you could do a $2,500 job for a small property, which could, or on an HOA or even a commercial property in 2024, but in 2026, these people could spend, $500,000 with you.
Yep.
And so it's all a long-term plan. That's why it's like the more parking lots, the more people you meet and customers that you meet, the more you're in their minds for when they actually do need you, you have the chance of hitting the home run.
Well, and a lot of times what I've found is just working with speed, even when I don't win a job, I could have a client say when the next one comes out, before they even send it to bid, they're like, hey, can you go, this is what the RFP is, but can you go verify this for me? And then at that point, you already have, an extra card in your sleeve because you're the one that's building the scope. And so it's even when I've won or even when I've lost jobs, that same person that said, hey, sorry, it was great opportunity, but it's just not going to work this time. 2 weeks later, hey, actually, we just bought this new building. Can you go check it out for me? And that's where it's the relationship side.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'll just even use the jobs that I closed this year, the hospitals. Yeah, almost $3 million worth of work. And the company sent us over an RFP. We went to go verify, was spot on site. Mm-hmm. Measurements were wrong. Scope was wrong because it was outdated. So we essentially rewrote it for them. And that built the trust automatically.
Oh, yeah.
And so they obviously had to still do the fair bidding price, had to give them good pricing. But that gave us an automatic advantage because we were willing to go and do that and not just take whatever they sent us for face value. So verifying scope, working with speed is so important. What else do you think?
Organization and really just like professionalism and communication skills. I've always been a really organized guy. Like the notes app on my phone, my computer, like the way that I organize my files and when I send out bids, kind of the way I even save stuff and name stuff is important. It always helps me if I need to go back and like look at something. I usually date my files. So stuff like that. But then I know you touch on it almost always, but the professionalism is the biggest thing I feel like has just helped me. When you're sending emails to, and granted, the other thing too is not a lot of times what your client, they don't always know what you're talking about. But if you can send an email without like typos and correct capitalizations and look professional, have a good signature block at the bottom, capitalize names, property names, stuff like that, it immediately builds a rapport with them. And they're like, oh, this guy, I don't really know what he's talking about, but I bet he does. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I've even seen like other people, on a thread, if a client will send an RFP to a couple different contractors, just when they respond, it's almost like they're texting, which isn't bad. Like I text my clients, but on texting, not on email.
It's different. Yeah.
And it's just, maybe it's weird for me. It's kind of a pet peeve, but it's like just the professionalism from the jump, from like when you email the clients, but then also if you're meeting with them in person, like dressing up and looking sharp. I'm not saying you can't wear, a lot of times I'm wearing boots and jeans, but I have a nice collared shirt on, a polo or a nice like quarter zip or a jacket. And it just looking sharp is just the thing.
Yep.
I feel like.
Yep. Because you want to be perceived as a professional, right?
Yeah.
It's like the details, and that's why I harp on the details, is it subconsciously matters to your customer.
It does.
Like if you go and reply and just it's a one line, all lowercase, and like sounds like you're texting in an email, when all society knows about general proper email format, and you can't even do the bare minimums because you're too lazy to stop and take 30 seconds to capitalize something, or Like it really matters and goes a long way.
It does.
And I think that's why contracting has gotten such a bad stigma, is because guys have been so spread thin that they say F it to all the details. And it just creates a snowball effect. Enough contractors do that, then they get this perception of,
When it's also like, oh, that's dumb. I'm not like an office guy. I don't want to be an office guy. I'm not saying you need to be an office guy, but the person you're sending this email to is almost always in an office, and their everyday communication is with their coworkers, their superiors, other vendors that are doing those things. So if you don't meet these like minimum expectations on communication, you're sticking out like a sore thumb, and not in a good way.
yeah, that's totally it. Then organization, going back to that, that's so important, because, you know, in this job as an estimator or pavement consultant, you got, you know, job scopes you got to go create. You got bids to send out, proposals to follow up on. You got to go mark out jobs. You got to, you know, do
Jobs that you have that are going.
Jobs that are going, you got to check in on them.
Yeah.
Then you'll be driving down, you know, to Colorado Springs. Then you got a customer saying, hey, remember this bid that you sent me 3 months ago? I need you to remove the 30 linear feet of curb and gutter. We only want to do 25.
Yeah.
So you got to remember that small detail. And so it's like, if you don't have a good system with yourself, and there's no like one size fits all. Like the way I organize myself is different than how you organize yourself, but you figure out what works for you. You even, as a salesperson, take your commission money and spend an extra $20 a month for your own software that manages you.
Yep.
That's like a task management program where you can put your schedule, like whatever works for you, figure it out. But it's like, you have to stop and write down stuff, or document stuff, because you're going to lose it and you're going to forget it. There's only so much bandwidth that everyone has. And enough of that, the small stuff, you're going to lose. You're going to drop the ball.
Yeah.
And I found that the times where I've dropped the ball, it always happens in kind of a snowball effect. And then I got to like catch myself. I'm like,
It does. Every time I've
different.
not saved something, or didn't save the right thing, or tried to skip a step, almost every single time that client or that specific job has come up and I've needed that information, and I've shot myself in the foot, and I'm like, you know what, if I would have just took the extra step and like actually wrote down what they told me when I was on the phone with them, or if I actually, you know, saved that document, it would have saved so much
time instead of scrubbing through your emails. So
yeah, no, I think communication, organization, and then really just professionalism and speed, they're like, those are all things that you can do easily. And we haven't even touched on the actual knowledge of what we sell, or, you know, production times, everything like that. Like, the people that are listening to this and the people in this industry, they're good at that. They know, oh, that should cost X amount of dollars a square foot. I know our crews can do X amount of tons per hour. I know we can do that many cubic yards an hour. That's not the question. We know that everyone can do that, but it's the organization, the speed, the professionalism that really separates you when it comes down to it. And a client's looking at two people, you can be more expensive, and they're going to go with the person that they think they can trust almost every single time. You know, there's times where it comes down to they have to do a low bidder, but maybe even if you're a little bit higher, they'll say, hey, you know, you're not the lowest bidder, but you're about 5% high. Now, that comes from having speed, organization, and professionalism.
But that comes because, you know, you've built that subconscious trust, because they're like, okay, this guy has his stuff together. So I love that. One thing I also think is so important is really understanding, what are our customers actually buying, right? Mm-hmm. And I've learned this from our marketing book. My goal for 2025, I want to learn everything marketing. I want to know how to embed Facebook pixels. I want to understand the psychology of marketing.
Yep.
And one of the things
should go to CSU.
No, I'm good.
CU fan.
Yeah, Dion or die. So, but this book I was reading is talking about, what are your customers actually buying? So when you're buying a Rolex watch, you're not buying a watch because it's expensive because it's, nice, it looks cool.
Tells time better than any other watch.
Those are factors, but you know what you're really buying? You're buying status. Because everyone knows when they see a Rolex watch that person's got money. That person's a high value person.
Successful.
So for us to think in the paving industry, in the asphalt and concrete industry, what are our customers really buying? In my opinion, I've thought about this so much. I think they are buying, what we're selling is like Advil to their headache, but their headaches are going to be all the complaints that they're getting from all the problems that they're going to deal with if they don't get the work done and getting the work done. Because there's headaches of their tenants or residents or whatever kind of property they're managing, people complaining for the condition of the parking lot. Then there's headaches when we go to produce it that we got to rip all the cars out of there. People are going to be pissed off because they're going to have to walk an extra 50 feet. And so by us really figuring out the intangible stuff that they can't really pinpoint on, but we understand our customers so well, like, okay, here's what the big stressors are for them. It's going to go a long way. So that's why we do the small stuff. Like we put together the phasing map flyers for them. So they're not spending time on a Word document, taking our map that we sent over to them and having to type up locations and stuff like that. Like we do that for them. Yep. Because that's one easier step that all they got to do is print that bad boy, print off 50 flyers, say, hey, Jim, who's the on-site maintenance tech, go hang this on every door. I'm going to send this out to the community email blast, and that's our communication. So what our customers are really buying is a smooth experience to a painful process, which is construction. Everything that we do is a pain in the ass logistically, especially seal coating, milling, paving. Like we can't do the job unless people are out of the way. Concrete, we can most of the time get around. Infrared patching, which is why we sell the crap out of that, is because
happen anytime.
Yeah, it can happen anytime. Business still remains operational. Like you can still drop heats and be done in 20 minutes. And when we go to even phase projects out, like I'll use a retail shopping center, we look at, okay, what stores are going to be affected by our phases. Okay, if this is a grocery store, partnered with a couple, alongside a couple like small mom and pop shops, maybe a Subway, how can we stagger the phases to where we're not minimizing disruption on the parking, et cetera. So there's a lot more thought and effort that needs to go into how you think about these jobs. And if you can figure out that for them, the logistics side for them, but present it in a way that you understand in their shoes what's going to be the biggest
biggest headaches.
Their biggest headaches, then you're going to win all the work that you want.
Oh yeah.
So that's the way I kind of look at it, is like, think about really what your customers are buying. And it's just with property management, like for us specifically, like most of the property managers we deal with are dealing with leases, dealing with possible evictions, dealing with maintenance on stuff that is not the parking lots, on, washer and dryers, air conditioning units. Like there's so much that goes on. So you need to like play your extra part into making sure that whenever you get the opportunity to go and do the work, that you're giving the best service, and the best service is the extra mile, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I think you said it perfectly. We're selling the experience, and that's from the first minute we shake hands through the day that we shake hands and they pay the invoice. That's the entire experience and everything in it. And I mean, going back to what we just touched on, the experience starts when they first meet you. And if they first meet you and they're like, well, this guy looks kind of scary. Like, you get out of your vehicle or whatever, and you're kind of all over
ragged,
you know. I think of it like if you're going on a date and someone shows up and their shoes are all messed up, like that's kind of the first thing I always notice is like shoes. And if they show up and their kind of shoes are all dirty and not tied, you're like, geez,
Yeah, what the hell's
I
going on?
wonder what their house looks like.
You also have a massive shoe collection.
Yeah, I'm a sneakerhead, so that's kind of my...
You kind of look into that a little bit more. Yeah, but I think that the personal presentation is everything too. So
It is. Well, if anyone's in the market for... I'm downsizing, so sizes 13 and 14, mainly Nike, some Jordans,
13 and 14.
like 13 and a half.
All right, so if you got Bigfoot feet and you need some new
Yeah.
shoes, hit up Hunter.
The weird thing
That's
is,
crazy,
the
dog.
weird thing is my left foot is bigger than my right foot. So it's really made an issue with my shoe sizes. So like some shoes 14, some shoes 13 and a half, some shoes I'm like 13.
Jeez.
It's the weirdest thing. But yeah, I think I got rid of a bunch of shoes. They're in my garage, but I need to donate them. Probably at one point I was like over 100 pairs.
Oh my god.
Probably like in the 80s, but you know, it's a hobby. It's what I enjoy. I like them.
Yeah, hey, to each his own, man.
Yep, exactly.
I can't hate on it. So
Exactly.
what have you noticed, like being from an outsider? Because I have my own thoughts. There's no right or wrong answer, but I want to know like your genuine thoughts on coming into construction as a whole. Like, what do you think the perception is of construction? What have you realized about construction that you may not have ever even thought of, like kind of grand picture
Yeah.
things?
My perception of construction was, first of all, how it's annoying when it creates traffic.
100%, yeah.
And Colorado has been under construction forever.
Yeah.
All the major highways are always under construction. And the people that wear, you know, the yellow vests and the hard hat holding the stop sign and the slow down sign, that was my perception of construction. No matter what aspect of construction or what avenue, you know, that was, someone says construction, that's what I think of.
Yep.
Always been my, you know, like smoking a cig, sitting there holding the
Sign on their phone,
on
texting.
the phone or at their glass of coffee cup. That was my perception. Now that I'm part of the industry, my new reality of it is a lot more than that. Yeah, that's a big part of the job, and I'm a pretty impatient guy still, but I give more grace to the traffic caused by especially if it's like concrete or asphalt, then I'm like, oh yeah, those guys are cool.
Yeah, they're
But if
good.
it's like anything else, I'm just like, dude, do this later. Like, not now. But anything asphalt or concrete related, I'm like, yeah, those guys are chill. Like, they can do that. But now that I'm part of it, it's just like, it's a lot more than just that. I mean, even just the GCs that we work with or some of these other companies, it's like, you know, some of the wealthiest people in this state, city, country are in this industry, they're owners, they're salespeople for these companies. So it's like, there's a lot more opportunities in this industry than people think.
100%.
And I think what I think of it when I think of construction now is, that's actually a great question. I'm trying to think, like, I really think about us. Like, I think about our team.
Yeah.
When I think of construction, like, I think of you, Zach, Nick, Scott, Mario, Jorge, Andres, like the key players within our team. There's a lot more that I missed, but the key players, that's kind of what I think of construction, and like our camaraderie and all of that. That's like my new
Kind of reality.
Yeah, my new image.
To me, it's like, I thought, you know, kind of the same thing. And I mean, I grew up doing trade stuff in like high school and college, and I had landscaping in high school, then pulled fiber optic cable in college, and then jumped into sales, doing gym sales. And like, the construction was never taught to me, or society has never been all in on people going into that workforce. Like, that's stuff for like the idiots. It's kind of similar, but not the same perception as like going to the military. Oh, you weren't smart enough, so you just went to the military. You know, like there's all these like horrible perceptions about it. And I've met some of the most intelligent business owners, technically intelligent people with whatever trades in my entire life that are like so skilled, and there is so much more that goes on in construction that you even realize. The amount of, stuff you got to keep up on DOT compliance, permitting, not to mention your basic business functions, understanding WIP reporting. And like, there is so much that you have to understand and know that it's not for the faint of heart. But the ones who have figured out the game will have a successful construction company. And really, since it is a needs-based service, like,
It's not going away.
It's not going away. And like, it's there for the taking. But it takes work, it takes failures, and it's a lot of hours, but the return that you can get in construction is a lot higher than other industries, just because it's almost a supply and demand at this point.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think actually, to kind of step back, so I mean, I grew up working on a ranch, like from when I was probably younger than 8, like branding, getting out there, like flanking calves, all sorts of stuff. And then in high school, I worked on a farm, and I drove like tandems during harvest. And so now, like, even those skills have translated into like what I am now viewing construction as, because I mean, those are also trades. Like ranching, farming, I consider those a trade in a sense. And I mean, those skills, like, yeah, I didn't grow up working in asphalt or concrete, but I do have these other skills that I've learned from the other industries.
Yeah.
And as does everyone in this building, in this industry, that have kind of helped you shift your perspective. And even going back a couple topics, like those same skills can impact you today.
Yeah, 100%. One of the greatest quotes I've learned is, your life makes sense backwards.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Like, look at all the jobs you've taken that you may have got your ass kicked in and you hated it and didn't do well, but what did you take out of that job that built and stacked a skill for you to get to where you're at today?
What was the most, unless you have another topic you're going to go into, but what was the most, like, you could say either random or kind of like, I wouldn't say bad, because some jobs are bad, but maybe like the most random job you ever got, or something of that nature.
Well, I'll go to the bad one because it sticks out in my head like a sore thumb. We were milling a job and ran into such a bad soft spot that the mill got stuck and it sunk, and we could not get that thing out. So we spent about an hour and a half trying to get it out, digging out, doing everything we could. We had to call a crane company. And if you ever seen a crane truck, it's amazing how big these things are.
Yeah.
Crane truck comes in, picks up the entire mill, sets it off out of the soft spot back on the asphalt, unloads it, leaves, start milling again. Literally 30 minutes later in a different area.
Same thing happens.
Same exact thing happened. So calling a crane company twice in the same day to pull our mill out was by far the worst day of my entire working career. But, a random jobs are just...
So that was when you were like project managing?
That was like your last year is when I was just learning the game.
Gotcha.
So I was not only didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I also had to deal with some completely chaotic 1 in a million situation of having to get a big ass mill out of a soft spot that's super bad.
And so then after that, did that change your perception of the industry at all? Because the reason why I asked that is because, you had that happen, but you were a reason why the problem got solved. So then did you feel like at that point, I'm part of this industry, like your perception changed?
The baptism by fire.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the route that I was going
for. Yeah. Like, you understand at that point, like, anything can happen in construction. It's not an if, it's a win. And like, you can set up jobs as perfect. You can have trucks lined up, material ordered well in advance, your crews are ready to go, rocking and rolling, equipment's warmed up, you're ready to start paving, truck's supposed to get there at 7, and plant breaks down. And there is so much stuff that could be out of your control that if you spend the time just fretting over it and letting it ruin your day, you are going to hate your life. And that's why I think people hate construction. But if you know subconsciously you did everything you could to make sure that all the ducks were lined up in a row and you were there to have a successful project, then you can really accept that a lot more. So the stuff that I've learned through construction is like the stuff that makes you sleep good at night is the stuff that, you controlled as much as you could and you did everything you could, but then the uncontrollable happened, versus it's like the attention to detail stuff versus something that you dropped the ball on when you should have made the extra call to the superintendent the night before and said, hey, just want to make sure we're good to go. And in the morning you're scrambling because you didn't make that call. Like that stuff is what haunts me now.
Yeah.
Is not doing the extra effort when you know. And so for me, it's like the construction is all about preparation. That's why we focus on the pre-construction part. That's why we have the spot on site map sharing and everything. Like we know how invaluable that is. And so, long story short, the baptism by fire and the welcome to construction was a situation like that, to where you're just out there and you're just
problem solving,
figuring it out, problem solving. You got to be able to pivot, and you can't. If you can reframe your mind, look at problems as opportunities, because there has been opportunities in a lot of problems, instead of like just living with anxiety about the what ifs, then you'll appreciate the industry a lot more. So
absolutely.
Long story short.
Yeah. So that's a good one.
No. I think, key characteristics for top sales guys are, speed, rate of learning, which also translates to intelligence, organization, and attitude. Really, like you knew nothing about the game and you got in and you figured it out and you've sold more than a lot of people, and like you have all those. So if you guys are looking to hire first year salespersons and you want to like look outside of the industry, which is always a good approach in my opinion, you just got to find those really intangible characteristics that you're looking for. Then you can have another Hunter, but you can't actually have Hunter.
Can't have me. I'm not on the market.
Yeah. He's not for sale.
Not for sale.
But yeah, just recapping your whole year, like, and then looking into next year, what are some improvements you want to make with yourself, and what's like going to move the needle for you next year?
I think I've, just from this past year, every single day only getting better, first of all. Also set myself up for success. I've done, throughout this kind of winter off season-y, done like a lot of big budgets for clients. So that's another way to, you're more of a consultant, because then they come back and say, hey, can you help me build this budget? So if you're building a budget for them, and then, a lot of those budgets are getting approved now, or like the first week of January, somewhere in there, or, first part of the first quarter, then they follow up, and then that's when you like start the experience process again. So set myself up good with a lot of good opportunities there. I know some of my good repeat customers, they have projects coming up.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was kind of recapping the year with some of these, with the people I wanted to work with. I've worked with people that I would probably not want to work with them again, and people that I work with more.
Yeah.
And so those people that I really like to work with, I've, took them out to lunch, showed appreciation, but also like told them, hey, I want to keep working with you guys. Like, what do we need to do? So it's really just continuing to get out in front of people, put a lot of opportunity out. Like you talked about the dollar amount of proposals, but I mean, even today's our last day for 2024, and I have like 2 big projects I'm gonna put out, and then have a couple weeks off, and then hopefully come back to some contracts.
That's going through the finish line, man. I love that. Yeah. And it's so important too, to never, in sales, there's times to rest, and we're definitely going to take advantage of that. But like, even these days where you get close to the holidays, you got time coming off. It's easy to let yourself get to that point to where you're like, all right, we're good, and kind of relax a little bit. But I promise you're going to be able to enjoy the time off that you spend more if you put it all out on the line to the last minute. And then you're able to actually sit back and relax and enjoy it. So I'm proud of you, dude. Like, I'm excited that you're on the team.
I appreciate it.
There's, God knows where you're going to be in 5 years, like what you can do. And I know guys that are making damn near $500,000 just slinging asphalt.
Yep.
So it's like you can easily become that. Just keep carving the stone, building the relationships. And the biggest thing that I've learned as well is like marginal improvements in when you look at your data makes big differences. So if you set up your goal, your sales goal, and you got, $2 million as your goal, your closing percentage last year was 30%, and maybe your goal this year is 35%. If you do the math on what a 5% improvement will do to the amount of bids you got to send out, or even look at average job size. If your average job size was 30 grand, you want to bump it up 10K through upselling to 40K. Like a small improvement like that will make so much of an impact on the amount of effort and time you got to put in, but also your results as well. So
that's my goal for the next year is to increase my total sales, as I feel like is just a common sense goal.
Yeah.
In general.
I hope
want to increase your sales, and if you're not wanting to, then
find a new job.
Yeah. This is a competitive job, and it's one that I thrive on the competitive edge. And Nick, who was our top salesman this year, almost every single day, he's like, yo, did you close anything? And I'm like, yep. And he's like, damn it. All right, 1 sec. Making some calls. All right, I got you back. Like stuff like that. And so A, the competitiveness, but B, my job size is probably my biggest thing. I mean, even we just looked at how many proposals I put out. Like, I mean, if I can cut that number down by 25%, but I'm increasing my job size by like 10 to 15,000, I'm surpassing all of those numbers again next year.
It's called leverage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're right. So that's my main goal is to increase my job size. So next year when we come back and we do part 2 of this, I'm gonna have some good results for you guys.
Yeah. What do we say I can't remember what we had for next year.
My goal for next year is just under 7 million.
Yeah.
In sales. So
you're gonna hit it, dog.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Yeah,
have to.
You have no choice, or me out looking.
Yeah, right. No, for sure. A fun part about working here has just been like the real family side. I mean, it feels like we're a small company, but then you think about it, you're like, we're not really a small company. Like, we're a big company, but we feel like a small family. It's been fun. It's been a fun journey to jump into a new career, to have success off the bat, and it's also been fun to share my new career and part of it with my friends, family. Like my girlfriend Aaliyah, she I got her a pink NPP hard hat and a vest, and she came in one of the jobs when we were at the Broncos. She came in and saw what we did, and it was cool to like see her be part of it. She had probably the same conception of construction, but now to her, like construction is like me and us. So that was cool that I'm able to, incorporate like my personal life and relationships into what we do.
Yeah. You had her running the wheel for you sometime.
Yep. She's helped me with some scopes. Yeah, she has. Actually, one of the very first jobs, the very first time I ever took her with me on a scope, actually was like a Saturday, and I just wanted to do it. And so we went, and she helped me like scope the parking lot. Mainly like spending time with me was the help, but did that. And then we actually won that job, and we just finished it up, Brookhill.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yep.
And I bet you she can measure fast as shit because she's, track athlete. And so I bet you she can fly with that wheel.
Oh, yeah. She's
like, hold on, 1 second. What'd you say?
Yeah, I know. She's a professional runner. And so she's used a wheel all the time because for their workouts or whatnot, they always measure out like how many meters.
Oh.
And yeah, so my wheels came in handy.
Yeah.
At one time she needed it. So
dual purpose.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
Well, that's wanted to highlight this gentleman here and tell you guys that, more sales guys, more is not always better. Getting better sales guys is always the result for me that's been, or always, the focus for me that's been the biggest improvement and biggest success for us as a company. So focus on those small improvements with your team. focus on ways to win, ways to operate and estimate faster. Spot on Site's definitely one of those. I'm going to throw a plug in there.
Spot on Site. Sure. Seriously. I mean,
I didn't pay him for this either.
That's how I first started. Is Zach sent me to a random place, a random HOA, and said, mark out patches with Spot on Site. And I said, what's Spot on Site? He said, download the app and use my login, and anything that looks like a pothole, drop a pin. This is me like 2 days on the job. And so if someone that doesn't know what they're doing can create an assessment on Spot on Site, imagine the people that know what they're doing.
Right.
It's
night and day.
Spot on Site is everything for us as a company.
Appreciate that, man. It's cool and I'm glad because we built it for us. So you guys see the value of it. But yeah, thank you guys for everything. We'll try to get back more on it. Hope you guys have a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. I don't know if there's any more, but and a Happy New Year as well. Yep. And let's have a kick-ass 2025. See you guys.